Have you ever really stopped to wonder where that feeling of you actually comes from? You know, we usually think of ourself as this solid thing, something we're just born with. But what if that's not the whole story? What if you is something that was actually built, piece by piece, right from your very first moments? That's what we're going to explore today, this incredible journey of how the self is born. I mean, really think about that. Before you had any labels, before you even knew what words were, your earliest experiences were already laying down a kind of blueprint. The self isn't some pre-installed software, right? It's an incredible achievement of development, something stitched together from all our relationships, our feelings, and that constant human attempt to just make sense of it all. So to really get this, to understand how that self gets built, we have to go way back. I mean, back to a time before it even existed, back to the undivided world of a baby. Okay, try to imagine this. In your first year of life, there's no hard line where you end and the world begins. It's all just one continuous landscape of pure sensation. You know, the feeling of hunger, the comfort of warmth, the sound of a voice. There's just no separation. And here's the wild part. In this state, there's no I having the experience. The experience just is. It's a world without a narrator, just a pure, unfiltered stream of being. And during this time, a baby's nervous system is in a state of, well, absolute dependence. It's learning about safety, it's learning about the world, all based on one thing: how consistently comfort is provided and distress is soothed. This early emotional wiring, this becomes the very architecture that our future self will be built on. So you have this initial boundless experience, and then a pivotal moment arrives, a discovery that honestly changes everything. This all happens around the age of 2, when a child's brain takes this giant leap. For the very first time, they can look in a mirror and realize, hey, that's me. And this isn't just some cute milestone, you know? It's a seismic shift in their identity. That simple question, who is that? It represents this huge internal discovery. It's the exact moment the idea of a separate me is born. For the first time ever, that child sees a complete whole image of themselves, a single person totally separate from everything else. And this moment, it creates the first real split inside us. See, the child sees this stable, whole image in the mirror. But on the inside, it's still a messy swirl of fragmented emotions. So what do? They start to identify more with that stable outer image. And that right there, that plants the very first seed of the self-image that all of us carry. So now, with this brand new, fragile sense of self, a new question starts to bubble up. Who am I supposed to be? The self starts looking outward now, learning from how the world reacts, figuring out what brings safety and what brings danger. When a kid hears something like, "You are so good," it's way more than just a compliment. It's a signal. The message they get is, okay, this part of you is acceptable. This part of you is safe. And that feeling, well, that becomes something they chase, a core piece of their developing identity. And then, of course, there's the flip side. Disapproval teaches the exact opposite lesson. A comment like, "Don't be so sensitive," tells a child that a part of them, their sensitivity, maybe their anger, their sadness, is unacceptable or even dangerous. So they learn pretty quickly to hide or push down those parts just to stay safe. So what happens is the emerging self learns that its number one job isn't to be authentic, it's to survive. It becomes this little manager of reality, constantly working to get approval and avoid disapproval. And this, right here, is the very beginning of the ego, that part of us that's always trying to negotiate between our inner world and what the outer world expects. This whole survival mechanism, it leads to another really critical construction. See, when a child's core emotional needs for safety, affection, validation aren't consistently met, they come up with a powerful protective strategy. They build an ideal self. And let's be clear, this isn't about self-improvement. It's about self-protection. The real self, the messy, emotional, spontaneous part, that part starts to feel way too risky. So the child learns to perform as this ideal self, the perfect one, the strong one, the quiet one, the one who never causes any trouble. And this becomes the core belief that gets internalized, often without us even realizing it. A gap starts to form between the person we really are and the person we perform for the world. And it's this gap, right here, that becomes the foundation for so much of our anxiety later in life.
Now, as we get older, the mirrors we use to see ourselves start to change. When we enter school and the big, wide social world, a whole new set of mirrors appears. And these ones are powerful. I'm talking about our peers.
And just look at how the rules for being accepted change over time. What matters when you're 6 is totally different from what matters when you're 14, when it's all about fitting in. The pressure to conform just gets more and more intense, and our sense of who we are gets more and more tangled up in our performance and whether we're part of the group. So, yeah, our self esteem gets completely wrapped up in all these external things. We learn to measure our own worth through the eyes of other people. The self becomes less of an internal truth and more of a social project, something that's shaped by this relentless storm of outside opinions. So, where does this all lead? How does it make you the person you are today? Well, all of these layers, from infancy to that first mirror to the playground, they all combine to form the adult self. But it's a self with a very, very specific history. Because the person you are today, you're a living record of every single strategy you learned to feel safe, to belong, and to just manage a world that felt overwhelming. Our adult patterns, they're not character flaws. They're the echoes of brilliant early survival strategies. I mean, does any of this start to look familiar? Things like overthinking, perfectionism, people-pleasing. These common adult anxieties are the completely logical outcomes of a self that was built for protection, not for peace. They're like artifacts of an identity that was created for a totally different environment, an identity we built when we were way too young to even know we were building one. But when we can see the self this way, as a construction, not a final verdict on who you are, oh, that changes everything. It creates space. It creates possibility. And what that does is it allows for this really profound shift. We actually get the chance to move beyond those old survival patterns. We can start to meet life not from that old place of fear and adaptation, but from a place of presence, of authenticity, of freedom. So, as we start to wrap this up, I want to leave you with a few things to think about. Just take a moment and reflect on your own story. What did you learn you needed to be in order to feel safe when you were young? And think about your life right now. Can you feel the difference between the parts of you that feel, well, real, and the parts that feel more like a performance, a role you're still playing? Who were the mirrors in your life, past and present? Whose reflection still shapes your self-image today? Whose approval or disapproval still kind of echoes in your mind? And finally, just imagine for a second, if all that pressure, the pressure to perform, to protect, to be a certain someone, if it all just softened, what remains? Who might you be then?